For many of who haven't watched the Denver Nuggets that much in recent years, this might come as a surprise to you. For those who have, it won't be a surprise at all. The first thing that stands out is their offense, in particular, how fluid and effortless it seems to be. It's hard to find a legit comparison, perhaps the Sacramento Kings back in the early 2000s, but it's still not the same. In this video, I want to compare the Nuggets offense to the offense of some other contenders. What separates them from the rest of the pack? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and without further ado, let's begin. But before we start, this video is sponsored by Aura. So, have you ever tried Googling yourself or your friends or family members and you were shocked to find out a lot of their personal information? Basically, data brokers are making a ton of money selling your information to scammers, robocallers, and others. That's where Aura comes in. Aura can identify these data brokers who are exposing your info, and they'll submit opt-out requests for you. When Aura does these submissions, brokers are legally required to remove your info from these public websites. I've had this experience in the past as well, where someone was able to find a lot of private info about me, and it certainly freaked me out. Aura will do all the work for you to help protect you and your family from any potential online threats. It's very easy to set up and use. If you want people to stop exploiting and profiting off your info, you can try Aura for 2 weeks free using my link right here. That's 2 weeks free using my link, and it's also in the description below. Let's start off this comparison by taking a look at the Nuggets offense and the Sixers offense in the playoffs. I feel like we gotta start with this comparison, because they feature two of the best centers in the league, the MVP and the MVP runner-up. But the way their team's offense operates completely contrast each other. One thing that stands out when you look at the metrics is the isolations. In the playoffs, the Sixers ISO'd on 16.5% of their possessions. They had by far the highest isolation rate of any of the 16 playoff teams. And yet, they scored at the third worst efficiency in ISOs. Only 0.82 points per possession on ISOs. They shot 37% from the field on ISOs, which is horrendous. On the other hand, the Nuggets have one of the lowest isolation rates, at only 6.6%. The result is that the Nuggets average roughly 30 more passes per game than the Sixers, and the offense is so much more fluid with more movement. Not just that, but it directly affects how Jokic and Embiid play the game. If you look at the way they got their points, Embiid has to try so hard to score. Most of the time, the team is force-feeding him the ball and letting him ISO, but he struggled to score. You have plays like this, where it's just so stagnant. He holds the ball for the entire possession and throws up a tough shot. Because the Sixers play so much one-on-one, it's difficult for him and Harden to get easy baskets, and the team isn't helping them out either. Compare this to the Nuggets offense. As great as Jokic has been, his team has put him in a great position to succeed. They run plays for him, they let him get involved in the offense even if he's not initiating it. While Jokic is very dominant in the post and in isolation, his team still helps him get easy baskets occasionally, just to get him in rhythm. Look at all these plays here. You never see Embiid get shots as easy as these, because his team does not elevate his offense. Everything was a struggle for him in the playoffs, and that's the problem with the Sixers offense. The interesting thing is, in the regular season, the Sixers actually finished with a better offensive rating than the Nuggets. But in the playoffs, defenses can handle an offense that's way more predictable. When you're up against a team with minimal ball movement, it's easier to game plan for, and they'll keep playing like this because they won't change their ways. The Nuggets, however, they're less predictable, and just by passing the ball more, the defense needs to pay attention to where everyone is. A simple pass puts more pressure on the defense than watching someone go one-on-one, especially when the entire team is constantly moving, passing, shooting, cutting to the rim. You need to keep an eye on all of them at all times, or else they'll catch you sleeping. It's similar to what Golden State was doing back in their heyday. They make the defense defend the entire team, not just one or two players. The Celtics over the past few seasons were the darlings of all the advanced metrics. Pretty much most projections had them as the favorites to win the title in the last 2 years. This year, they were equipped with the second best offense and third best defense in the league, a good indicator that they're arguably the most well-rounded team from top to bottom. In terms of their offense though, I'm sure Celtics fans can agree with me. For the past several seasons, nothing has changed. They're still overly reliant on the three-point shot, as they were second in the NBA in attempts this year. The problem with this is the Celtics' three-point shooters are not consistent at all. They generate most of their threes through drive and kicks, and sometimes they just keep passing the ball around on the perimeter until the shot clock runs out and someone jacks up a three. It's very fun to watch if their shots are falling. If it's not, they shoot themselves out of the game. We've seen numerous times in the playoffs when the Celtics are down and trying to come back, they keep trying to shoot their way back into the game. Many of them are rushed shots. Sometimes they do come back, but if they miss a couple, they get dejected, and it's over. The Nuggets are also a fantastic three-point shooting team, but they don't rely on that. They take way fewer threes as a team because they don't need to when they got Jokic down low and guys cutting to the basket. Their offense is way more balanced. It also doesn't help that the Celtics' two main stars, they don't elevate each other like Jokic and Murray do. When Murray and Jokic play together, they set screens for each other, they do handoffs, they cut and hit each other with a pass. They help each other get into a good position to score. Both of them are exceptional playmakers and have great court vision, and they complement each other perfectly. Tatum and Brown, on the other hand, they're both score-first players, and I know they've become better passers over the years, especially Tatum, but they still don't elevate each other. I never see the Celtics run any plays with both of them involved. They literally stand on opposite sides of the court and take turns going one-on-one, and if they don't get a good shot, they kick it back out. The Celtics actually have a higher net rating with Jaylen Brown on the bench and Tatum on the floor by himself. And we've seen what happens when Brown has to take over and run the offense. It's a disaster. So we didn't see much of the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs this year, but in the games we did see, with Giannis playing, they gave up multiple double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. In those times, when the Heat defense tightens up, they had a very hard time scoring. The issue with the Bucks has been an issue for the past few seasons. It's that their secondary stars are not good enough to be playing one-on-one, but they're forced to sometimes. The team's spacing has also been very suspect in the last few postseasons, though that's mostly because Jrue Holiday's jump shot disappears every time the playoffs start. Now, I know Giannis was injured, but for most of his career, he played the same way, putting his head down and charging towards the rim. Sometimes you're not gonna get that call in the playoffs, as we've seen. The biggest weakness of the Bucks' offense falls on the hands of their superstar. As dominant as Giannis is, his game outside of 10 feet is still mediocre, and it limits the options for his teammates when the defense packs the paint. Either way, they did win a championship with almost the same roster, but it was on the backs of their defense. The Lakers are another team who, since the trade deadline, they were one of the best offensive teams in the league, and I think in the playoffs they have a very versatile cast of guys who can score in a bunch of different ways. From Reeves' shooting and foul drawing to Rui's exceptional mid-range game, I feel like there's a lot of potential in their offense, but we gotta give them a full season together to figure it out. I think, from what we've seen, the Lakers will be one of the best offensive teams in the league next year. As for the Miami Heat, I made an entire video recently talking about how they've transformed their offense when the playoffs began. So check that video out if you want more details, but I'll give you a summary. So they've been utilizing Bam in a way that's actually very similar to how the Nuggets use Jokic. They put him in the high post or near the arc to lure away opposing bigs and to allow them to see the floor, for any open guys or any cutters rushing to the rim. Very few bigs can make passes like these, and Bam is one of them. Both teams also pride themselves in taking care of the ball. Butler and Murray might be different players, but they both have very low turnover rates, both methodical in the shots they take, and unlike most other guards, they love to move off the ball. You see so many times Butler gets ahead of his opponent for an easy layup, and you see Murray do the same. When someone else has the ball, they don't just stand around, they're moving a lot. Very few guards in this league do that, so it's nice to see both these guys do it on the same floor. The biggest story of the Heat offense has been their three-point shooting. going from one of the worst in the regular season to the best in the playoffs prior to the start of the finals, at over 39%. Some would say their guys are just on a hot streak, but is it really a hot streak when they won 3 playoff series already? Like the Nuggets, the Heat have been hitting their wide-open threes more often in the playoffs. Is there an explanation for why they've been hitting them way more often? Nope. They're actually generating fewer wide-open threes compared to the regular season, but they're hitting them at a much higher percentage now. I guess analytics can't explain everything. This Heat team just has a supreme amount of confidence. Overall, the personnel between these two teams is more similar than you think. A lot of their starting lineup do have similar skill sets. Anyway, that's all, folks. I think the Nuggets offense is just so awesome to watch. It's a breath of fresh air from watching other contenders who run rather stagnant offenses. And you can see when the game slows down in the playoffs, those offenses struggle. But for the Nuggets, it's a different story. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.